Welcome to Worth Reviewing, and this is a Skoda Fabia. It's one of the most reliable, practical and well-priced super minis. As for the design, well, it hasn't changed much in the last 5 years, and even though this is the facelift model, the only really noticeable difference is the wider front grille and the slimmer looking headlights. And in this review, I'm going to tell you if it's worth reviewing or not. The Fabia is available with two engines. They're both 1 litre 3-cylinder petrols. One has 95 horsepower, while the other one, which is the one I'm driving, has 110 horsepower, along with 148 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I've driven both engines, and I've got to say, in most cases I'll be saying to you, get the most powerful engine. But with the Fabia, you don't necessarily need the most powerful engine, because the 95 horsepower engine still seems relatively pokey, so it will suit most people. The gear changes feel okay, but it can seem a little bit notchy. As for the steering, there's a nice amount of feedback and it does feel grippy enough on the road, but once you start pushing it hard into the corners, there is a slight amount of body roll, so it doesn't feel as agile as some of its rivals. If you want something a bit more fun, there is the Monte Carlo trim, which does get slightly sportier suspension. Now, I haven't actually driven that model, so I can't say how well or how sporty it drives, but it does get the exact same engine as this Fabia, so I can't see it being properly sporty. But if you're not bothered about a car being so fun to drive, and you just want a small car that's fairly enjoyable to drive, the Fabia does a great job at it. Although the Fabia is comfortable, it isn't the smoothest in its class. That's not to say that ride quality is poor, but if you're doing a lot of journeys in the car, you may want to look at some of its rivals which do feel better on the road, or upgrade to the Octavia or Superb. The interior feels solid and nicely laid out, and although there are some cheaper, harder plastics like on top of the dash, but it doesn't really matter because you don't normally touch these parts of the car unless you're cleaning them. This SEL trim comes with a sat-nav built into the infotainment system, which is a 6.5-inch touchscreen. The system does look a bit dated and as if it's running on a bit of an old system, but for most people it will do the job fine. I also like that it has shortcut buttons and control knobs which make it easier to use while you're driving, and it works with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Down below is the climate control system and some storage compartments for your phone, a bottle and a Red Bull can. There's a few more things like a movable armrest with a storage compartment inside, although it's an optional extra on lower spec trims. There's a compartment under the passenger seat where you'll find an umbrella and a glove box for a big bottle of drink and a banana. And a parking ticket holder. Now, I don't have a parking ticket, so I've adapted mine slightly. When I first got this car, I thought this steering wheel looks awful without the bottom spoke, but I won't lie, it's actually surprisingly comfortable to hold on to while I'm driving. What's not so good is there's only one USB port, so if you've got a phone connected for sat-nav and you want another phone charging, you'll have to use a cigarette lighter, but it's not the end of the world. In the back, there's a decent amount of room, and because the car's got a bit of a boxy shape to it, it does feel like you get a bit more headroom than you would do in some of its rivals. There's isofix points on the either side of the outer seats. 2 adults in the back should be alright, but 3 may feel a bit snug and a bit too pushy for some people. Some people might be alright with it. And then windows go all the way down and the doors open up nice and wide. As for the boot, it's one of the biggest in its class, with 330 litres, which is the sort of boot size space you get in the class above. And as well as it being big and boxy, you've also got some storage compartments and hooks to keep your bits in the back secure. The rear seats don't fold completely flat, but it still gets an impressive 1,150 litres. And if you want more room, you can also buy an estate model for just over £1,000 more. So, should you buy the estate model for £15,625 or the normal Fabia for £14,605 and spend the £1,020 you saved to buy 1,700 IKEA hot dogs? Let me know what you'd buy in the comments. Now, I'm feeling quite peckish, so I know I'm having. So, is the Fabia worth reviewing? Yes. I do like the Fabia, but I think the reason why it doesn't sell as well as some of its rivals is because when people are looking at buying a new car, they want it to be fun to drive, have a load of tech, and at a good price. And when some of this car's rivals start at a higher price, but they're more fun to drive, have more tech, and arguably look better on the outside, people are willing to pay the extra money to get more enjoyment out of a car if they're going to own it for a long time. I'm not saying the Fabia is boring to drive, it isn't, but if you're looking for a small car that's practical, reliable and safe and starts at a good price, you should definitely consider buying the Fabia.